Is the latest to be targeted by burglars. Harrison's sister and her 2 children were in the home when police say a couple of men broke in.
Rick Harrison, at 59, has finally confirmed the devastating truth about his son, a reality far worse than anyone imagined. For years, the Pawn Stars family looked like they were on top of the world, building an empire from a small Las Vegas shop. But that shiny public image was hiding a dark secret. This isn't just about a family feud or a business deal gone wrong. This is about a father witnessing the complete and utter ruin of his son's life, a tragedy that culminated in what can only be described as a life sentence. You think you know the story, but you won't believe the details Rick has now brought to light. Harrison's darkest day. At the height of his success, Rick Harrison seemed to have it all. With a net worth soaring past $9 million in a television show that was a certified global phenomenon, the Pawn Stars patriarch was the king of a modern-day empire. The gold and silver pawn shop, once a humble family business on the dusty Las Vegas Strip, had transformed into a tourist magnet, drawing in thousands of fans a day.
So just do me a favor and do call someone who knows something about comic books and find out if I just lost money.
But believe it or not, behind the curtain of fame and fortune, a devastating tragedy was brewing. One that would shatter the family's carefully crafted image and leave Rick Harrison with a wound that would never heal. The unthinkable happened in January of 2024. Rick's son, Adam Harrison, was found dead at just 39 years old. For years, Adam had intentionally stayed out of the spotlight. While his older brother Corey embraced the fame that came with Pawn Stars, Adam chose a different path, reportedly working as a plumber and valuing his privacy. He was the son the public rarely saw, a man trying to live a normal life away from the cameras that followed his family everywhere. But a quiet life couldn't save him from his personal demons. The official cause of his passing was a tragic accident involving illicit substances, a crisis that has quietly torn apart countless families across America. For Rick, this wasn't just a news headline, it was the confirmation of his worst nightmare. His son's life was completely ruined. In a raw, emotional statement, Rick didn't hold back. He pointed the finger squarely at the national crisis surrounding these dangerous substances, a plague that had stolen his son. And get this, Rick's grief was mixed with a sense of helplessness and anger as he publicly stated, "The crisis in this country has to be taken more seriously." It was a cry of pain from a father who, despite all his resources and power, couldn't save his own child. This is the life sentence the world didn't see coming. It's not a sentence served behind bars, but a permanent, emotional prison of grief for Rick and his family. The loss of Adam represents an irreversible end, a future stolen, and a potential legacy turned to dust. It's funny when you think about it, the show was built on valuing old, forgotten things and giving them a second chance.
Is a fair appraisal of this specimen.
I like your paleontologist.
Okay.
But in the real world, some things are broken beyond repair. Adam's tragic end cast a dark shadow over the entire Pawn Stars universe. It forced fans to look past the funny banter and fascinating artifacts and see the real, messy, and often painful humanity of the people on screen. The Harrison family, once seen as an invincible unit, was now publicly grappling with a profound loss. This wasn't a negotiation or a business deal. This was a raw, unfiltered tragedy that money couldn't fix. The empire Rick had built suddenly seemed incredibly fragile. But this heartbreaking event wasn't an isolated incident. The truth is, the foundation of the Harrison family empire had been cracking for years when a mother sues her son. Long before the family faced its most public tragedy, a bitter war was being waged behind the scenes. This wasn't a fight with a rival business or a disgruntled customer. This was a battle within the Harrison family itself, pitting mother against son. Joanne Harrison, Rick's own mother and the matriarch of the family, filed a shocking lawsuit against him. The allegations were explosive. Joanne claimed that Rick, her son, had pressured her into signing over her 51% stake in the legendary gold and silver pawn shop. And the circumstances she described were just heartbreaking. This wasn't a normal business transaction. Joanne alleged it happened while she was recovering from a coma, a time when she was at her most vulnerable. The lawsuit painted a grim picture of a family torn apart by money and control. Joanne accused Rick of a systematic campaign to strip her of her assets. She claimed that after her husband Richard the Old Man Harrison passed away in 2018, Rick stopped sending her the dividend payments from her ownership stake, which were supposed to be around $25,000 a month. Imagine that, a son allegedly cutting off his own mother. The legal documents revealed that Joanne also accused Rick of taking out a massive $1 million loan using her assets as collateral without her knowledge. It was a level of alleged betrayal that stunned even the most cynical observers. The passing of the old man was a turning point. He was the stoic, no-nonsense heart of the operation, a figure whose authority was unquestioned. With him gone, the fragile peace within the family shattered. The dispute over his will only added fuel to the fire. It turned out that the old man had specifically cut one of his sons, Christopher, out of his will, a decision that hinted at deeper family fractures. For Joanne, the fight wasn't just about money, it was about honoring her late husband's legacy and what she felt was rightfully hers. She sought a restraining order to prevent Rick from selling off more family assets, a clear sign that trust between them had completely evaporated. This legal drama was more than just a family squabble, it was a public relations nightmare. The Harrisons had built their brand on being a tight-knit, multi-generational family unit. Now that image was being dismantled in court documents for the whole world to see. The stress was immense, and you have to wonder how it affected the day-to-day operations of the shop. While Rick was on camera charming customers and dropping historical knowledge, he was simultaneously locked in a bitter legal struggle with his own mom. It's a stark reminder that what we see on reality TV is often just a carefully edited slice of a much more complicated reality. The pressure was mounting from all sides, and if the internal family war wasn't enough, the outside world was also closing in, adding even more pressure to the people orbiting the Harrisons' world. Scandals under the spotlight. The Harrison family wasn't the only part of the Pawn Stars universe spiraling out of control. The immense pressure of fame combined with sudden wealth proved to be a toxic cocktail for some of the show's most beloved personalities. Austin "Chumlee" Russell, the show's lovable comic relief, became the center of a scandal that was anything but funny. In March of 2016, his home was raided by police as part of an investigation. What they found inside was shocking. Authorities discovered a stash of illicit substances, including marijuana and methamphetamine, along with nearly a dozen firearms, one of which was not legally registered. The public image of the goofy, harmless Chumlee was shattered instantly. Here was a guy known for his childlike enthusiasm for toys and sneakers, now facing multiple felony charges. The media frenzy was intense. For the show, it was a massive blow. How could they maintain their family-friendly image when one of their main stars was caught up in such a serious situation? Chumlee eventually took a plea deal, pleading guilty to a felony weapon charge and a misdemeanor drug charge. He managed to avoid prison time, but the sentence was 3 years of probation and counseling. His reputation, however, received a life sentence of its own, forever marked by the scandal. Then there was Corey Harrison, Rick's son and heir apparent to the pawnshop throne. Nicknamed Big Hoss, Corey seemed to struggle with the spotlight from the very beginning. His journey was a public roller coaster of highs and lows. There were the embarrassing headlines, like an incident involving public urination at a bar, which, while minor, added to a growing perception of reckless behavior. But things got more serious. Bar brawls and a high-profile incident where he reportedly trashed an RV led to legal troubles and more negative press. It seemed as though Corey was lashing out, unable to cope with the expectations placed upon him as the boss's son on a hit TV show.
It's completely bogus.
Why would you do that? Go get him.
Go get him. Give it a few minutes.
Yet Corey's story is also one of transformation. At one point, facing a health scare, he made a dramatic change. Through surgery and a new lifestyle, he shed an incredible amount of weight, nearly 200 pounds. It was a physical transformation that mirrored an internal struggle to get his life back on track. Fans applauded his effort, seeing it as a sign of maturity. However, Corey himself admitted how difficult the journey was, highlighting the immense pressure that came with being a public figure. His every move, good or bad, was scrutinized. His battle was a testament to the fact that fame doesn't solve personal problems. It just puts them on a much bigger stage for everyone to see. These scandals, from Chumlee's raid to Corey's wild antics, chipped away at the show's credibility. The once charming dynamic of the cast now seemed tainted by the darkness of their off-screen lives. What happens when the cameras stop rolling? When you step back and look at the whole picture, it's not one single event but a slow, creeping decay that has tarnished the Pawn Stars' empire. The family feuds, the public scandals, and the heartbreaking personal tragedies have all converged, creating a perfect storm. The show that once defined a genre and pulled in millions of viewers an episode began to feel different. The magic was fading, replaced by the grim reality of the cast's off-screen struggles. It's hard to watch the lighthearted haggling on screen, knowing the deep-seated resentment brewing within the family, or the personal demons haunting the stars. The COVID-19 pandemic delivered another heavy blow. Las Vegas, a city built on tourism, became a ghost town overnight. For the gold and silver pawn shop, which had become as much of a tourist attraction as a functioning business, the financial impact was severe. Revenue plummeted. This external crisis exposed the internal vulnerabilities. The business was no longer just a pawn shop. It was a brand, and that brand was heavily damaged. The legal fees from the lawsuit with Joanne, combined with the drop in business, put a massive strain on Rick's empire. The man who seemed to be the master of calculating value was now facing losses on all fronts: financial, familial, and personal. The thing is, does this kind of stuff just happen overnight? When you're watching at home, you see a successful business and a family that seems to have it all figured out. But are we missing the key details? Maybe the pressure was always there, building up under the surface. Maybe the money and the fame just magnified the tiny cracks that already existed in their relationships until the whole thing started to break apart. It makes you wonder if this outcome was inevitable. When a small family business is suddenly thrust into the global spotlight, something has to give. In this case, it seems to have been their trust, their privacy, and ultimately, their peace. The decline of Pawn Stars serves as a powerful cautionary tale. It's a story about how the American dream, when realized on such a massive scale, can have a dark underbelly. Rick Harrison built something extraordinary from the ground up, a testament to his hard work and business savvy. But the empire he created became a gilded cage, trapping his family and colleagues in a cycle of public scrutiny and personal turmoil. The legacy he likely hoped to leave behind, one of family, history, and success, is now forever intertwined with stories of lawsuits, addiction, and profound loss. The glitter has worn off, revealing the difficult truth underneath. The price of their success turned out to be far higher than anyone could have ever appraised. The Harrison family's story is a tragic reminder of what can be lost. What do you think is the true cost of fame? Let us know your thoughts below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.